Hey YouTube, Untamed here. Today I'm going to talk about how the shift has begun. We are now seeing a buyer's market. We're finally seeing a buyer's market when it comes to vehicles. I'm going to talk through some very specific examples in this video and really give you a highlight of how things have changed really just over the last year or two. So during the pandemic, vehicles had an average shelf life or a on-lot life of 3 to 7 days, right? So whenever a vehicle arrived to a dealership across the board, didn't really matter too much on the manufacturer. Obviously, some manufacturers are more important or more popular than others, I should say, but vehicles were selling quickly, and that's no surprise, right? We were having a hard time with shortages across the board, and because of that, inventory was always very low, and sales happened very quickly. It was not uncommon to reach out to a dealership for a TRD Pro and already have that TRD Pro pre-sold months in advance. And we had people on wait lists at different dealerships in order to wait for their 4Runner, their Tundra, their Sequoia TRD Pro to arrive. And oftentimes, depending on the vehicle, they were still paying a dealership markup. They were paying over MSRP for their vehicle, which is pretty disgusting. I am proud and happy to announce today that I think that shift has taken place and we are officially now in a buyer's market, thankfully. So I am constantly looking at different vehicles all the time. You guys know I'm a little bit of a nut when it comes to that, but I've seen the shift take place. I've seen Ford Raptors with pretty substantial discounts on them now to include 37 performance packages. Just within the last week, I've seen a couple 37 performance packages Ford Raptors selling at a discount, one of them being $4,000 off of MSRP for an Avalanche Gray 37, which is pretty remarkable. This one here, I got it for $5,300 off of MSRP, which again, I was extremely happy with. There's pros and cons to that though, right? When these vehicles, all new vehicles, when their prices start to go down, what does that mean for your trade-in? What does that mean for the used vehicle market? That means they're going down just as much or even a little bit more. So once upon a time, you were able to get a phenomenal trade value when you went to a dealership. Now you'd be lucky to kind of scrape by with low Kelley Blue Book value at the moment, because Kelley Blue Book takes a little while to catch up, unfortunately. So it's a catch-22, right? I mean, we're getting great deals on our vehicles, and when we buy them from a dealership, great discounts, great incentives. Even some dealerships are offering 0% interest rates. Granted, those are kind of few and far between, and you can expect to pay a little bit more of a premium, MSRP or more, if you do get a deal, a 0% interest rate on your vehicle. They don't discount them and give you 0%. That's very unlikely. But we're starting to see that now, is what I'm trying to get at. We did not see that for the last couple of years, right? You kind of got to, beggars couldn't be choosers. You got to get what you can find. And that was actually kind of the case this last couple of years. So during the pandemic, 3 to 7 days was the average amount of time that vehicles stayed on the lots. 3 to 7 days. Fast forward to today, we're between 70 and 80 days for vehicles across the nation. That's across the board. Let me give you some very specific numbers. For Toyota in particular, they are kind of leading the pack for the lowest number of days on their lot, with an average of 32 days on their lots. The second being Honda. Honda's right at 41 days of average shelf life before they actually sell. It goes all the way up to the other end of the pendulum, and that's Jeep. Jeep has an average right now of 128 days on their lots. So pretty pathetic at the moment, but good news for getting a good deal. But why are we seeing this, right? We saw the interest rates spike up, and obviously that's a big part of the equation, right? I mean, people are having a hard time, even with excellent credit, getting 7 to 10% interest rates on their vehicles when they buy them. And that is awful. That is terrible. You're paying a lot in interest if you actually carry the loan through to term, right? Whether it's 60 months or 72 months, you're paying a ton in insurance, right? Almost a disgusting amount when you look at 9%, 10%, right? So we had that kind of plaguing it, and that's kind of halting sales a little bit. But dealers are having to discount right now. They're having to incentivize their deals across the board because people aren't buying. And those average days on lot, they're continuing to climb. And I would argue that they're going to continue to climb throughout 2024. That'd be my prediction. So, you know, if you're able to wait a little bit, I would suggest maybe waiting maybe a few more months, kind of let it pan out a little bit. But if you have been on the fence and you do find the vehicle that you've been looking for, the chances of you getting a really good deal, especially end of year too, let me make that clear. So being December, right at the turn of the year, the chances of you getting an even better deal on a 2023 model right as the 24s are beginning to hit the lot, is even higher. So either pull the trigger right now or wait a few months, because I do think that the deals and discounts and incentives are going to continue to go up and get better for us, especially as we continue to see those average days on lots go up across the board. So 70 to 80 days is now the average across the nation, across all manufacturers, which is pretty remarkable. If you look at the top 3 or top 4, it goes Toyota with 32 days average on the lot, 40 days for Honda, Lexus being next. I think they're at 45, 50, right around there, average days on lot. Those top 3 there, one thing that they did on purpose was they actually lowered their production numbers on purpose so they can continue to maximize their gross profits on each of their vehicles. So they didn't have to discount the crud out of each of their vehicles with the current market that we live in. So I don't know. Smart move by Toyota, perhaps, and Honda and Lexus, perhaps, but at the same time, I don't know. It would have been nice to see better discounts for Toyotas across the board. I did recently, and you saw that in the thumbnail, I did recently see a brand new 2024 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro in the new TRD Pro color, Terra, actually listed at a $5,000 to $6,000 discount. So it was a quote-unquote Christmas special that they had advertised at, they're listing at $69,999, something like that. So right at $70,000. And if you don't know MSRP on a TRD Pro right now, it is between high 74 to 77 really right now. And I think on that one it was 75 something. So a good $5,500 discount-ish on a brand new Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. Can you even imagine that being the case just a year ago? Just a year ago, people were fighting each other to try to get one at a $2,500 markup. It's pretty pathetic that things got to where they were, right? So it is refreshing to see that discounts are being applied and people are finally able to get the vehicle that they want and be a little bit more choosy and get a good deal on it, at least sale price wise, right? Getting those exceptional interest rates with the very desirable vehicles is less likely, right? You're not going to get a 1.9% interest rate or a incentivized 0% interest rate on a TRD Pro. If you always read the fine print, it always excludes the popular top trims of vehicles, right? So you're not going to get that exceptional 1.9, whatever Ford's trying to run or push their vehicles at 0 or 1.9% on a Ford Raptor, right? They're going to push you with the standard rates right now. But I do think we're going to see those begin to decline as we go into 2024 because they're going to have to, right? I mean, dealers are beginning to struggle. And the final note I'll throw out in this video is, and I try to remind you guys all the time, and just in case someone new happens to watch this video, if you do recall going to a dealership during the pandemic and they had a markup on one of their vehicles, if you're looking at a TRD Pro or a Raptor or whatever it was, and they're trying to charge Kias were another offender of that, the Telluride. Kia of all manufacturers was trying to push markups on their Telluride, which is pretty pathetic, right? So if you remember a dealership that was pushing a markup during the pandemic, I encourage you, leave them a 1-star review. Let people know, like, hey, this was one of the dealerships taking advantage of people during the pandemic. Don't advise going there. Don't go there now that they're finally bringing prices down, they're getting rid of markups. Don't go there now. Don't reward them now for that greedy behavior that they deployed during the pandemic, right? So they didn't care for loyal returning customers during the pandemic. So why go to them now? Now when they're finally hurting and they need your business, now that we have the upper hand, don't go there. Let them kind of lay in the grave that they dug a little bit. That is what I encourage everyone to do. Avoid the dealerships that were greedy throughout the last couple of years and leave them a 1-star review. Let people know about that. So I'll leave it with that. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you've been holding out for a vehicle, what is that vehicle that you've been holding out for? And do you think now is going to be a good time for you to buy it? I would argue yes. Right now, December, yes, or wait a few months into 2024 and watch it fall a little bit more. Let me know what your thoughts are. Appreciate you watching as always. Until next time.